Hello and welcome back. I'm Michelle Leith with UnlockYourPossibility.com and the Live and Eat Fearlessly movement. And I'm so excited to be back with you today talking about the 4 holiday eating styles. Now, in yesterday's video, you learned about the 4 styles and you discovered what your style was, or which of the 4 styles is actually most relevant to you. And of course, the way that we did that was by having you take the What's Your Holiday Eating Style quiz. Now, if you didn't get that quiz, you can go ahead and grab that right below this video. There's a link for the quiz there. You can take the quiz and then watch yesterday's video to determine what your holiday eating style is. Now, in today's video, I'm going to share with you specific strategies for each of the holiday eating styles to help you maintain peace and balance and freedom with food this holiday season and beyond. I'm also going to share with you what not to do. And then we'll take a look at how you can learn even more to support you in creating your most healthy and nourished holiday season based on your own specific situation, right? It's wonderful to know what our style is, but we're all unique individuals. So I'm going to give you a little bit more around that. Now, before we get started, let's just recap the 4 holiday eating styles. The first one is what we call roller coaster eating. The prevailing energy to this style is one of restriction and control, right? It's all about having a lot of rules around food, and you're either on your diet or you're off, right? You're either being really, really good, or as soon as you take one bite of the wrong thing, it's like, forget it, I'm totally off my diet, I'm off the rails, and then it's rebounding back and forth between those two states. So that's roller coaster eating. The second style is emotional eating. The prevailing energy of this style is one of uncomfortable feelings. There's a lot of energy of not being good enough for most people who experience this, and a tendency towards eating to fill up, like eating to fill a void, eating to fill an emptiness. The third style is stress eating. The prevailing energy of this style is around doing, right? It's around constant achievement. We've got to be doing something. We've got all these responsibilities. There's a lot of rushing. And there's a tendency towards eating to numb out versus eating to fill up in the emotional eating style. And then finally, we have the snowball eating style, the snowball effect eating. The prevailing energy of this style is around approval, sort of external approval. There's a lot to do with belonging, like feeling like we want to belong, either trying to change ourselves so that we belong or fit in, or feeling left out if we're on some kind of a plan and we can't participate in the fun that everybody else is eating, right? So there's this prevailing energy of belonging. And this style is also characterized by a tendency to just sort of go, what the heck, it's just too hard, I don't care anymore, I'm in kind of like a self-abandonment. So these are the 4 eating styles. Now again, there's a lot more detail in yesterday's video about how those can be showing up for you so that you know which ones apply to you. Now, the first thing I want to say about strategies is that none of these styles benefit from the practice of resisting, restricting, depriving yourself, judging yourself around food, making yourself feel guilty around food. Those strategies don't work for any eating style or for anybody, right? Couple reasons for this. Number 1, they create anxiety in our minds and our spirits. And when we're in a state of anxiety, it creates stress chemistry in your body, which actually drives you to overheat and signals your body to store more weight, right? So it actually makes it harder for you to reach your goals when you're using an anxiety-based method. The second thing is, we all know that the more we restrict ourselves and forbid ourselves from things, the more likely we are to end up in a binge, right? The more likely we are to finally break the rules, throw in the towel, and then basically end up feeling really crappy about ourselves, like we have no willpower. So these strategies, again, they just don't work for anybody. The other thing that I want to make sure you're aware not to do is, now that you have a sense of what your eating style may be, is avoid the tendency to judge yourself or to label yourself. Okay? This isn't about judging yourself or making yourself wrong. It's simply information that gives you a context for learning about yourself and for learning how to best nourish yourself. And again, when we label ourselves in a disempowering way, like I'm an emotional eater, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because we look for ways to prove that label, to reinforce that label subconsciously. And it just basically makes it all so much worse. So this isn't about labeling, this is just about having a context for understanding so that you can try some different approaches that actually will help you make the best choices for yourself. Okay, so those are the things not to do. So let's talk about what some of the best strategies are for each of these holiday eating styles. First, let's talk about the roller coaster eating style. Now, if this is your style and you tend to be very black or white around food, like it's either good or bad, the most effective strategy for you is number one, to just call a ceasefire with food. To just see if you can just tell the food police that they're on Christmas break, and drop the judgments around food and open up to possibility. There's no such thing as a really like a bad food or a good food. Everything is a factor of quantity, of the individual, how your body reacts to specific things. So the more you make up rules, the more it's going to trigger that inner rebel inside of you that's really strong and powerful and that hates being restricted, and that's actually going to swing the pendulum the other way. And that's not what you want either, right? You want to find that medium where you actually can trust yourself with food and you can trust yourself to make good decisions in the moment instead of having this prescribed set of rules like 3 days in advance and then breaking the rules. So if there aren't any rules to break, you're not doing anything wrong. The other suggestion there is to make sure that you're really nourishing yourself at regular intervals, right? If you are trying to, create counterbalance from having overeaten, you might be restricting yourself, you might be starving yourself, or being really, really limiting with your food choices and actually not getting enough nourishment, which just perpetuates the cycle. So you want to make sure you're getting regular meals at regular intervals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, whatever it is that keeps your energy levels sustained and keeps you feeling nourished so that you're diminishing any physiologic urges to binge and reach for sugary, fatty foods and things like that. So those are my top strategies for roller coaster eating, is kind of temper the restriction, right? Drop the rules and make sure that you are feeding yourself, on a regular basis, whatever that is. For the emotional eating style, right, this is a little bit different. Here, it's really more of an inner game kind of a thing. First of all, you want to look for a safe method of self-expression, right? I know it can feel really hard to deal with your feelings, but they're really not that scary when we actually allow ourselves just to name them. And so a practice like journaling can be really supportive for those of us who have emotionally driven eating. Just to be able to kind of write out what we're feeling. That's not to say try to resist your urge to eat by journaling instead, because that's just a resistance strategy. I mean, create a practice of on a daily basis checking in with yourself. Maybe it's 5 minutes in the morning, maybe it's 5 minutes in the evening. Just see if you can name what you're feeling. And when you do that, what's cool about that is you're not actually, you're just saying, I'm feeling XYZ, I'm feeling fearful, I'm feeling sad. It separates the feeling from you as a person, right? It's not, I'm scared, I'm sad, I'm terrible. It's like, I'm feeling such and such. So you want to start to make friends with your feelings to the extent that you can. And then even more importantly, practice giving yourself a little compassion, right? See if you can start talking to yourself the way that you would talk to your best friend. Many of us talk to ourselves in ways that we would never speak to someone that we care about, right? So how can you start being a little kinder to yourself around whatever it is that you're dealing with? Another important strategy for emotional eating style is boundaries, right? Sometimes when we allow ourselves to get super depleted because we're giving to everybody else, and then food's your only reward, it's the only way that you kind of get fed, we really need to start to cultivate our capacity to say no and to set boundaries and to preserve time for our own self-care. You're likely a highly sensitive individual, which means that you are very susceptible to others' energy, and you can take a lot of that on, and you need to have some space for yourself, and you need to have a container for yourself just to be in from time to time to kind of ground and center. So setting boundaries is really important. And receiving support, allowing yourself to receive support. You don't have to do it all, okay? So speaking your truth, even if it's just to yourself, right? Journaling, naming your feelings, talking to yourself kindly, and then looking at where you need more boundaries in your life to preserve your own energy. Now, if you're a stress eater, I labeled, didn't I? If you are in the stress eating category, which most of us are this time of year, it kind of puts everybody into more of the stress eating category on top of whatever else you're dealing with, just by nature of the season and all the events and all the stuff that comes with it. Best strategies here are some kind of spiritual practice, like some kind of regular practice that connects you with nature or with whatever is meaningful to you spiritually. It's something about grounding. When you are in a stress eating cycle, your energy is like, it's like a Tasmanian devil. That's why we start eating to kind of numb out. Eating sometimes can have a grounding effect on us. And so if you're in that stress cycle of, I gotta do, I'm racing against the clock, I don't have any time, I've got all these people I'm responsible to, I've got all these commitments, there's just no way I can take time for myself, right? You're spinning. You need to create some kind of an opening in that where you can just exhale and kind of catch your breath and figure out, okay, wait, what really does need to be done and what doesn't? And that comes to the second strategy. When you have a thought around, I have to do this, I have to get this report finished, I have to, get to the mall and get this gift, I have to, order all these presents that I don't have money for, whatever it is, I want you to stop and ask yourself, who says I have to do this, right? What is it that you choose to do? What is actually really in the highest service to you and others, right? You're not really serving anyone else when you're like running yourself into the ground, not at work, not in your relationships, not any of that. So you want to check in around what is it that you really have to do. And if it requires asking for support or, again, maybe some boundaries, right, then you want to take a look at that. And then, of course, anything that you can do to relax yourself. So you want to choose exercise that is relaxing this time of year, okay? So most of us, especially if we're really kind of high, like this type A personalities, which is me, the exercise that we're doing is just as frantic as, the rest of our day. Like I'm racing. I'm going to get to the gym. I'm going to do 40 minutes on the elliptical. And then I'm going to, go to the boot camp. And then I'm going to go home and I'm going to wrap presents. And I'm going to, it's like that same frantic energy. So you want to consciously choose movement or other kind of self-care practices that actually have a calming effect. So yoga is a great thing to do. Taking a bubble bath is a great thing to do. Anything that just helps you bring the energy down, okay? And then finally, for our snowball effect eating style, the strategies that you want to check in with are, ask yourself what's really fueling your choices or your motivation. We talked yesterday about that style that the desire to eat healthy or to, get in shape or to change your habits usually comes from some external factor, like seeing a picture of yourself where you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I look like that. No one's gonna, like me if I don't, if I don't change myself, or maybe someone hurt you with a rude comment or whatever it may be. You want to really check in and go, is this something that I really want for myself, or am I just trying to change myself for the benefit of others? Because if you don't know what's inspiring you to want to make healthy choices, then you're not going to do it, right? It's not a soul-aligned goal. It's an ego-aligned goal. So you want to try to connect with why it's important to you. What will it do for you to have nourished yourself, as best you can on an even day? And what will it do for you to allow yourself to participate in things instead of taking yourself out and telling yourself you don't deserve it, right? So check in with what's motivating you, what's driving you. You definitely want to resist any all or nothing ideas about eating, about what eating healthy looks like. You want to avoid the tendency to cut out everything that you like if you're trying to be on a healthy path, right? Because as soon as you do that, it's going to trigger those feelings of being left out, and you're just going to want to, override those. And then finally, make your own opinion matter most. If you're happy with the way you are, that's great. If it's not your issue, if it's something that someone else said to you that, made you think that you needed to change yourself or change your eating habits, again, number one, you're not going to do it. And number two, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, right? Those who mind, how does it go? Those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. Something like that. Make your own opinion matter most, and whatever makes you feel your best, that's totally okay. That's where you should be, right? So those are a few strategies, some of my favorites for these holiday eating styles. And there's so much more I could say on this because there's so many more places that we can go. But of course, without knowing your specific challenges and your specific situation, it's really hard for me to make a recommendation that will be really useful. That's why I decided to create a really special gift for you. I've created a special session called the Nourished Holiday Action Plan Session. This is an opportunity for you and I to have a private one-on-one conversation where we can take a look together at your specific challenges. Maybe you've got, your spouse's holiday parties coming up next weekend and you always overeat at that event, or it's really hard for you to be with your family when the family all comes for dinner and you just feel like you kind of lose yourself. Whatever it is that trips you up, let's talk about it. Let's have a conversation and I'll help you. Basically, you'll come away from that session crystal clear on why what you've tried in the past hasn't worked, and I'll give you personalized strategies and recommendations based on your own unique situation, above and beyond just your holiday eating style. Now, as I mentioned, this is a private one-on-one session with me. It's worth $197, but I've decided to make 5 of these sessions available as a gift. This is a gift for those women out there who are really committed to doing things differently this year, okay? And I have 5 of them available, so you're gonna have to act fast if this is something that's calling to you. And if you're thinking to yourself right now, well, that sounds great, but I'm just too busy, or you know what, I just don't want to think about it. I'm just gonna, not deal with it right now, and I'll handle everything in January. Then you're exactly the person that I want most to apply for this session. You see, as I said earlier, when we have a tendency to put ourselves last, like we're always last on the list, and we're depleted and we're not really getting our needs met, that's what drives us into the arms of food, right? So you don't have to deprive yourself or restrict yourself or miss out on the joys of the holidays. You actually can live and eat fearlessly and enjoy all the foods that you love this holiday season without stressing out, without worrying about, having to do damage control in January. And that's what I want for you. I want to show you a different way. So let's have a conversation and let me help you discover your own unique path to nourishment this holiday season so that you can be your most nourished, peaceful, present self, and that you can show up for the people that you care about and show up in your season as the woman that you really want to be. So if you'd like to apply for one of those sessions, all you need to do is in the email beneath this video, you'll find a link. Just click that link and you'll be led to a page where you'll be asked to answer a few short questions just to determine if we're a good fit. Now again, there's no charge for this session if you're chosen, but I value your time and I want to make sure that I can really help you. So I need you to answer those questions first, and then if you're chosen for the session, we'll get you on the schedule and get you booked. I have got 5 spots open next week. So we can make sure that you've got plenty of time between now and the peak of the holidays to get what you need to get on the right track for you and have your best holiday season ever. So thank you for being with me for these last couple of videos. I hope what I've shared has been helpful, and I would absolutely love to talk with you. Go now, click the link beneath this video to apply for your Nourished Holidays Action Plan session, and I will talk with you soon. Take care.